And welcome back to the show. Animal Farm Foundation is a not-for-profit organization that is dedicated to securing equal treatment and opportunity for pit bull dogs and their owners. AFF creates positive change for dogs, people, and communities through their service dog program, Paws Prison program, and by providing access to food and veterinary care to local pet owners. Now, they recently launched announced the launch of the Dogs, People, and Housing Insurance Project to end exclusionary dog breed restrictions in the housing insurance industry. And joining us now to share a little bit more and give us some details is the foundation manager at Animal Farm Foundation, Nikki Juchem. And we thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, Daren. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about the new project we launched last year.
Yeah, and I know we'll get to the new project in just a second, but I gave a little bit of an intro into your organization. But for somebody who may not understand a little bit about the work that you do, give us more about your organization from layman's perspective.
Sure. So Animal Farm Foundation's goal is to keep people and pets together by ending the discrimination that people face because of the way that their dog looks. So because of that, we do work a lot with people that own dogs that are perceived to be pit bull dogs. But a lot of people face discrimination because of the way that their dog looks, including people that may have Dobermans or German Shepherds or dogs like that. So we want to end discrimination for all of the people that have that discrimination because of the way that their dogs look. A whole bunch of programs at Animal Farm Foundation. As you mentioned, we do have a service dog program. We take dogs from shelters across the country that were labeled pit bull in their shelter, and we train them to be service dogs, and we offer them free to the clients and offer training for the remainder of their service dog.
Yeah. So talk to me about pit bulls for a minute, because when we think about pit bulls, obviously across New York City, I'll be the first one to admit, I see a pit bull. I may not necessarily be so welcoming to it simply because of size and the ability of what it has to do. But after all, they are animals, and you take pit bulls as well as pit bull owners, and you make them commonplace in society.
One of our biggest philosophies here is that we are individuals and that all dogs are individuals. And you can't just look at a dog and say, I know it's going to behave a certain way because of the way it looks or because of its label. There's been a lot of advances in the canine genome research and how we identify dogs, and if we can even identify dogs based on the way that they look. But pit bull dogs are just, and I say that in quotes because it means very many different things to a lot of different, to everybody. It's a different perception for anyone. But dogs are just dogs, and dogs that are being labeled pit bull are no different than any other dogs.
Yeah, you have a Paws Prison program, and I want you to share with our viewers a little bit about the work that you're doing with dogs in the prison system.
Sure. Have the Paws of Purpose program at Rikers Island in New York City. And the dogs go down there for their initial basic training. So we find out so much about the dogs through that basic training, and whether or not the dogs are going to be really good service dogs because they have a very, a very crazy environment down there. It's a very different environment than they would be if they were at our shelter. So we get to see how they react, what their personalities are, and if they are either going to go on into the service dog program or just go on to be adopted out as a pet dog.
And also, I want to have an opportunity to share in this conversation talking about the breed restrictions that are being used to deny housing insurance. And for our viewers who may not be so familiar, talk to us about the breed restrictions and how they actually play a part with housing insurance.
Sure. So if you own a dog that looks a certain way, and I know, as we mentioned, we do work a lot with dogs that are perceived to be pit bull dogs, but there are a list of 20 to 25 different breeds of dogs, usually on the insurance industry's breed restriction list. And if you own one of these dogs, your insurance company may deny you coverage, or your landlord may deny you housing because their insurance company doesn't cover these dogs. And it's really hard to know if you're going to be targeted or not, because it's a very subjective idea of what, if your dog is a mixed breed of some sort, whether or not it's going to fall under one of those breeds that's on the restriction list.
For people who really, want to support this movement, how do they do that?
So you can go to dogs, people, and hounds.org. And there, if you want to reach out to your local insurance commissioner and let them know that you don't think that this is fair, these policies are not fair in the insurance industry. Let them know that you don't want to ever have to be faced, or if you have already been faced with these issues, let them know, because it's their job to protect us as consumers. And there actually was a bill just introduced. It just hasn't been passed by the governor yet. I think the governor's a little bit busy right now, but it was actually the 12th district senator, I believe, that introduced the bill to end breed restrictions in the insurance industry in New York State.
Yeah. Before we go, I want to get this question in here about discrimination. Because honestly, preparing for this segment, I had really thought about discrimination in a lot of forms. Never really looked at it from the perspective of dog discrimination.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of look at me sideways when I say the discrimination people face because of the way that their dog looks. And we worked, like I said, a lot with breed-specific legislation where we know has been steeped in discrimination. But also going into the insurance industry this year and really working on it, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners has said that they really want to look at, they know that there's discrimination in the insurance industry, and they're ready to look at what discrimination is there, and want to change those policies and practices. And doing our research, we found that there was a really great study done by Ann Linner. She was a research fellow at Harvard, who found that pit bull dogs are perceived to be owned by young Black males. It also talks a lot about how pit bull dogs have gotten a really bad stereotype, being perceived in like urban hip hop scene. And through that, we've noticed that because there's no data to support why these insurance companies are enforcing these policies, we know that these dogs aren't any different than any other dogs. We can only assume, based on our experience with breed-specific legislation, that, I mean, we just recently had the mayor of Council Bluffs say the reason that he wanted these breed restrictions was because he didn't want those people in his town. So people that, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track here.
No.
So people that own dogs labeled pit bull and other dogs are facing the discrimination because of the way their dog looks. And they're saying, I'm not a responsible owner because of the way that my dog looks. And the insurance company is not looking at responsible dog ownership or the history of a dog. It's just looking at what dog you own and making perceptions based on that.
Yeah, well, Nikki Juchem, you definitely brought it home for us in understanding discrimination by way of dogs. And thank you so much for being with us here on Open.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to tell you that if you want more information about Nikki and the work that she's doing, of course, we invite you to get connected to her at Animal Farm Foundation. You can find them on Facebook. You can also find them on Facebook, and then also their website, which is animalfarmfoundation.org. We do have more show. We want you to stay with us. Open continues coming up right after this.